This is the Horse Radio Network.
Greetings, everyone. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily, episode 1355, brought to you today by Green Flower Botanicals. This time, we have farrier Steve Kraus, who's going to bust some myths on winter hoof care with a little help from Horses in the Morning co-hosts Glenn and Jamie. But before we get to our tip, we're going to get a little myth busting from Roger at Green Flower Botanicals because he's going to explain what CBD oil is and what it isn't.
And now our own Dr. Wendy Ying speaks with Roger from Green Flower Botanicals in a series we call CBD Oil 101.
Today, we're going to do CBD Oil 101. So, Roger, what is CBD oil and how can it benefit us?
First of all, CBD is a cannabinoid that we find in hemp as well as in marijuana plants. And so hemp and marijuana are kind of sister plants. And we extract that out of the hemp plant, and it is one of about 100 different cannabinoids that are found in these plants. And each of these cannabinoids have some type of medicinal benefit. CBD especially carries just a tremendous amount of medicinal benefits. If you're familiar with the medical marijuana movement, CBD is actually the cannabinoid that's responsible for most of the medicinal benefit coming out of the medical marijuana movement. But the difference is it, unlike THC, which is probably the most famous cannabinoid people are familiar with, it does not get you high. It has no intoxicating properties to it. And because we're able to extract it out of hemp, it's federally legal and legal in all states.
And what kind of conditions can we use CBD oil for in both people and animals?
Well, CBD actually can be used for a host of things. Some of the most popular ones are anxiety, it's an anti-inflammatory, it's an analgesic, so it's wonderful for combating pain. It is antioxidant. It's good for nausea and things of that, so very soothing to the stomach. But again, probably the lion's share of people that are purchasing it are coming at it to relieve pain or anxiety in their horses or their animals. For dogs, it's wonderful for separation anxiety, or they get upset with storms, joint issues, stomach issues, things like that. For horses, a lot of people are using it for arena anxiety and helping the animal learn more. So there's really so much that CBD oil can do.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation about CBD oil in weeks to come. So, Roger, how can people find Green Flower and your products?
Very easy. You can go right to the website, which is greenflowerbotanicals.com. All of our products are there, and also we have a special coupon code for our HRN listeners. So once you're at checkout and you see the area for the coupon, just put in HRN, and that'll give you 20% off any of our products.
If you show your horses, please check with your federation on the legal use of CBD oil.
And there you have it. And now on with our tip.
Well, we have Steve Kraus, the head of farrier services at Cornell University. And Steve has been on our show a ton, and he has a wealth of knowledge about the hoof. So we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the myths surrounding hoof care. Well, I think one of the biggest questions that people have as far as coming into the winter season is, should you pull your horse's shoes in the winter because they have better traction in the snow and ice barefoot versus wearing a shoe? And what is your, as somebody who really hasn't ever lived in a snowy area, but I'm in a place now where there is going to be snow, I would love to know the answer to this question.
Well, this is a common question, and this is has a multiple answer here. So where we live in upstate New York, it does snow, but it doesn't snow all the time. It used to snow all the time, and I think maybe, climate varies back and forth. Sometimes we have snowy, icy winters, and other times we have very open but cold winters. So what happens in November, people ask me if I'm the weatherman. When is it going to snow? Because they're thinking of putting traction on and anti-snowball pads and so on. And, do you think it's going to snow soon? Or you think it's, what kind of winter? So I'm a horseshoer. I'm not the weatherman. So I'm like, in the end of November, I'm not going to see you till January. And we do get a lot of snow anytime after Thanksgiving. And that's what we did this year. But who knows what it's going to do? So if you're going to prepare for winter, now's the time to start doing it in the snowy climates. So that's the beginning of this. So again, climate and moisture and how much snow really affects what we really need. First, I want to say is if the horses are on a constant snowpack and are not being used for anything, not doing any kind of real work, the feet hold up the best on a nice constant snowpack. Well, we always don't get that. But if we have the freeze-thaw cycle, if we have a lot of ice, a steel shoe without any other traction device is slippery on ice and can be slippery on snow. So yes, a horse without shoes is probably safer than a horse with steel shoes without any traction. But however, on ice and hard-packed snow and crossing roads, if you're trail riding, some type of traction is definitely more safe and useful to using the horse if you apply it properly. Mm-hmm. And then if you're going to shoe the horse, then and it's snowy, then you also need some type of pad to reduce the snow buildup. Because what happens is we call it snowballing. We have the slight warmth that radiates from the horse's foot melts a little bit of snow and then freezes it to the steel, and then it cakes up into what we call a snowball. So some type of pad, like a polyurethane flat pad or a bubble pad, which is called a snowball pad, stops that from happening. But what I like the best for this is what's called a no-snow rim pad, which is a rim pad that goes on with this rubber tube or polyurethane tube that goes around the inside rim, and that insulates the hoof from the snow and doesn't let them melt. Plus, it's flexible. And if you have a freeze-thaw winter, then you don't have this muddy, snowy, slushy soup migrating underneath the flat pad. So it keeps the foot open when there's no snow, and you don't get a buildup of things that rot the foot away. And then when there is snow, it keeps the snow from building up. And so pads and studs are quite a big item in the Northeast this time of year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad I don't have to deal with all that. I'm down in Oklahoma, so we will get some snow and then it'll melt and then we'll get some slush and some mud. So yeah, interesting to think about. And to think about, you would see somebody in November, but really not see them again until February. And that leads me to another question that people have is, do the horses, the hoof growth, does it slow down in the winter?
Yes. From what I have seen, and my observation is mostly in the Northeast, as we start to lose daylight, and that starts happening in June, the end of summer solstice, the feet react and start slowing down by the end of the summer into fall. And as we get into this time of year, again, the horses, hormones react to the length of day. So feet are slowing down in December and January, and there's a month or so lag behind the actual, the solstice. And then I've noticed with horses, especially horses that are inside, and we have a lot of indoor arenas around here, they're turned out a little bit, but they're not grazing any, or there's nothing to eat, growing yet. The feet really start speeding up in growth at the end of March and April, and they'll grow probably twice as much in April and May than they've had in the 3 previous months.
Interesting.
Especially thoroughbred horses who need more energy to stay warm, and they're putting it into their coats and so on. So my observation over like the last 50 years around here has been this slowing of growth on not all horses, but most of them that I've worked on during the winter months, and then speeding up in spring, and then slowing down by the end of the summer into fall. So with some horses, you would go to redo them on a 6-week schedule, and you would get there and you would look like nothing has grown. It's not worth redoing them. Not worth trimming them. So that, it kind of varies to the individual horse too, but also the climate is going to have an influence too. I know if down in Wellington and South Florida and Ocala, the feet are probably growing a bit quicker down here. They have more warmth. They're probably on the more moisture. So that's going to influence more hoof growth too.
I was going to ask you that because we live in Florida, and I was wondering, does it do the same thing for the horses that live here full time, all year?
I think in the more in the Northeast and throughout the upper Midwest and so on, you do have a change of seasons that's very noticeable, and whereas in Florida, especially, you have more constant moisture conditions and so on, and that I don't think the horses are going to respond to that length of day change as much, and plus they're probably being exercised more down there too. There's more activity in Florida over the winter, so exercise, nutrition, all that stuff combines with the the length of day also. So a lot of factors, not just one thing, but we noticed in the Northeast the slowing of the growth during the winter.
Is there a benefit to hot shoeing versus cold shoeing, especially in the winter?
Well, the main benefit, well, lots of good benefits to hot shoeing. What I like about hot shoeing during the winter, it keeps my hands warm.
That's funny.
And we could go out on some of these days, and a lot of us keep pretty busy shoeing all kinds of horses during the winter, and having that forge going is a nice heat source. You can warm your tools up a little bit, and if you pound on cold metal during this kind of cold weather, the metal is even actually a little bit harder to work when you get into the 20s and less, if you're going to be out there. So hot shoeing is a benefit to shaping the shoes itself, especially as you get out of the light shoes and get into standard and wide web rim shoes. They're not going to shape very well cold and easily, especially in the cold weather. So you need the forge to shape them properly and to do any modifications. So that's hot shaping. Hot fitting is taking that shoe while it's warm and checking the fit, burning a clip in. And the benefits of hot fitting is you can do your final flattening of the foot if you have a perfectly flat shoe and have a little bit of an imperfection in the sole, in the wall surface. You can actually singe that and burn a little bit away or leave a mark for you to rasp. But it, again, in climate has a huge influence on the benefits of hot fitting. So again, down in South Florida, where you're very moist, you not only have, in some cases, excessive moisture, but you also have lots of fungi and bacteria that like to eat away at the hoof. So when you hot fit, you are killing that bacteria, number one. You are also sealing off the bottom of the foot because the horn tubules are like little straws. And if you notice, if you trim a horse's foot and they're standing on a flat surface and the horse picks his foot up after a minute, there's an imprint of moisture where the foot was. Mm-hmm. So you see all this moisture is coming in, running out of the foot or ability to move too much. So what the guys who shoe regularly down in South Florida will do, they will hot fit for the reason of sealing those horn tubules off, which tightens up the foot, makes it a little bit stronger. And it also kills all the fungi and bacteria that are trying to invade. So the problem you run into, and these guys down there are so smart, they figured out how to get around this. If you are shoeing a lot of performance horses with aluminum shoes, the aluminum cannot get hot enough to do a good hot fit. So those guys down there in Wellington invented what they call the hot plate. And so they put a hoof-shaped piece of steel plate in the forge to heat that up, and they have a little notch they can fit their tongs into, and they actually hot fit a plate onto the foot before they nail their aluminum shoe on to kind of reproduce that hot fitting a steel shoe would do. Isn't that ingenious?
That's really smart. They made it work for them. Well, one more question, Steve.
Right,
We're running out of. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, again, they're just solving a problem, and they find the feet hold up better.
That's fantastic. Very cool. Before we let you go, one more question, because I know I deal with a lot of off-the-track thoroughbreds, and I know a lot of our listeners do too. And it's a question about horses that have really low heels. Some people think that they might have been trimmed too short. Is that the case, or is it conformation, and can it be fixed?
It's more of a conformation problem. A lot of thoroughbreds off the track have developed in front what's called a flat or negative palmar angle, and behind we call that a plantar angle, and that's the angle of the bottom of the coffin bone with the ground. And that is a bit of a conformation problem. So the horse is actually, instead of having a positive of 4 to 6 degree coffin bone angle with the ground, it's either flat or negative. And that compresses the digital cushion and makes for what we call the low-heeled horse. And so the thing you do not want to do without looking at the horse is just wedge it up, because the horse is already hitting his heels too hard. Sometimes you just got to bring the support further back, or do some frog pressure to help the bony column, because the horse is actually sinking backwards in his hoof capsule.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, people always want to you should put a wedge on that. But to me, that first of all, you put the wedge in it and they're hitting that heel more. And I feel like sometimes if you wedge it up, the fetlock drops even more, putting more.
Correct. Exactly. That's the biomechanics. You got that 100% right. And a lot of people get that 100% wrong and do the opposite thing. And then they create problems.
So if you're listening, first of all, Steve Kraus just said I was right.
I was just going to say, she is going to use that. I'm going to have to take it out as a soundbite and use it forever.
No, but you explained it exactly the way I would explain it.
So if you guys are, you have a horse with really low heels, do not let a farrier put a wedge pad on it, because conformationally that fetlock will drop and put more stress on the suspensory ligaments and more stress on the bottom of that heel. So just keep that in mind, because I've heard so many people say, you got to put a wedge pad on it. No, don't do that. And I'm going to end with Steve Kraus telling me that I was right. Thank you. Oh, Steve, it's always so awesome having you on, because you explain things in a way that we can all understand. And I really appreciate your time. Where can people, if they want to contact you, find you, or where can people find out more about Cornell University Farrier Program?
Well, we have a Facebook page, Cornell Farrier Program on Facebook, easy to find. They can contact me. Email is sek78@cornell.edu. And they can go on the Cornell Veterinary College's website and search for farrier. And you can find all kinds of stuff about us. So we have a great program here, and we train a lot of farriers, and some of which are working down in Wellington this winter.
And that's a wrap. You can find more tips at horsetipdaily.com. Don't forget, you can download the app if you're not listening that way already. Horse Radio Network has its very own app. It is free and easy to use. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. It does work for both iPhone and Android devices. This is Coach Jen, and I will be back again soon with another tip. So until then, go ride your horse. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements made by guests on the Horse Tip Daily. Please use your own judgment when listening to the tips on this show.